welcome to Inside the Chrysalis with your host, me, Latesha Higgs. Yes, guys, it has been so long since we have last completed a podcast or an episode. But I'm so excited to be here with you today because this month is June and we celebrate fathers. It is also a month that we celebrate or we recognize mental health awareness as it relates to men. So I'm so excited that today our guest, we have another male on the show. Woohoo! Yes. So we have another male on the show and we have the poet. He is an author, a slam champion, and the creator of the Galaxy of Poets. So let's welcome the poet. So, the poet,
Yes,
before
ma'am.
we even begin, I need people to know your talent, the thing that you do. So, drop us a little something. Give us a little mic drop before we begin.
I got you. This piece is called Superheroes. They never told you that superheroes need heroes too. You want me to save you, but who will save me? Who will come to my rescue when my mental is ruined by the lives that I couldn't save? I put this cape on to fly, but when my wings don't work, will you carry me? When I don't want to dramatically rise from the blow of my arch enemy, who's gonna fight for me? Will you scoop me out of midair after I'm thrown from a building, or will you just expect me to fly? Superheroes need heroes too. Why do I always have to move at the speed of light when someone's in danger of losing their life? My running shoes are out of gas. Will you refuel them? Where's my super friends? Can you resuscitate me? Will you give me back my breath from those that have stole time from me? Will you protect me from those that have made me weak from their energy, or will you just expect me to get over it? Well, what if I don't want to shoulder it? What if my utility belt don't work anymore? What if my tools are rusted and old? Will you fix me? Can you put me back together again? Or will you just expect me to use the infinity stones and snap my fingers into the past to change my reality? Superheroes need superheroes too. Will you be a superhero for this superhero just because I need you to?
Wow. Okay. I'm loving this. Yes. I hope you guys enjoy that. That was amazing. And yes, I need to correct myself. June is Men's Health Month. And so I am so glad that you are on this episode to kick off this month with us. Oh
Mhm.
my gosh. So now go ahead and tell the public who you are.
My name is Kelvin, but I go by The Poet Has Spoken. And I am a spoken word artist and a poet, an author, and the creator, CEO, and president of the Galaxy of Poets.
Okay. All right. So I'm so glad that you're here with us today as we celebrate Men's Health Month. And so, inside the chrysalis, for those of you who have not been with us, and just to remind those who have been, inside the chrysalis is a podcast or a platform for those who are living with a mental health condition. And what we're doing is we're telling the lived experiences of those that are managing a mental health condition so that we can erase the stigma. We can fight against the stigma associated with mental illness. We want to show that people that are living with a mental health condition are not just living, but they are thriving. And as you just saw here, we are thriving successfully. So, before we begin, or as we're about to begin, tell us a little bit about your diagnosis. What led to your diagnosis?
So, my PTSD came because I was in a deadly train accident when I was
Mm.
going on 19. back in 1996, where 11 people died, and 8 of those 11 people were friends from Job Corps. So I actually also went through survivor's remorse, also, um, and some of the depression. Um, but recently, 3 years ago, it'll be 4 years in September when my son was murdered. So that's where a heavy dose of depression comes from. And then I was diagnosed with bipolar 1 when I was going through some hard times, and I finally decided to go to therapy. So one therapist said, "Yeah, I'm on the fence of bipolar 1," and then the other one said that it was a severe case of anxiety, which both of them can mirror each other.
Mm.
Um, and I think that was it that I said. So
Mm.
it's definitely from old life experiences coming together with new ones, that things that have happened, because I actually lost my dad, and I like talking about this because it even adds a different dynamics to how we continue to go on, because I lost my dad a month before my son was murdered in the same year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So you tell us a little bit about that. What did that add to, was that before you went to get treatment or after?
No, it was after. It definitely added to the different things that was going on in my life already. The PTSD has calmed down, like, to, I would say, almost to 0%. It all depends on what situation that I'm in.
Mhm.
So with the accident, it really does, since it been so long ago, it doesn't bother me like it used to. But these recent activities with losing my son to murder, and then a couple of other people as well, it did weigh heavily on me.
So what are some of the symptoms that you were experiencing of PTSD that led to the diagnosis?
Not being able to be in a car driven by someone else, not being able to, I couldn't step on a train for a very long time.
Mhm.
Then when I did finally get on a train, I could not ride in the first car because when the accident happened, I was in the first car.
Mhm.
So it took me years to get to build up the strength to even make that happen. And the day that I did it, I was shaken tremendously. So with that happening, that's where that diagnosis with PTSD came from.
So, a lot it's I know it's a challenge for men to actually go and get therapy and treatment like that. And we hear a lot of times that it's even more difficult for men of color. So,
hmm
what led to you decide, you know what, I need to go get help? What
The
happened?
the thing about it, I never had that stigma within myself,
Mm.
that it's an issue with me going to get help. When the accident first happened, in years on, I did like self medicate with like marijuana and drinking.
Mm.
But what actually led me to going to therapy, because this is another thing that I talk about a lot, because it's not a conversation that happens. I was in a relationship, and the aspect of a man being in an abusive relationship but not being the one that is being the abuser but
Mm.
is being the abusee is not talked about enough.
That's true.
So the day that I had to leave that relationship because it was just getting out of control, that was one of the moments that I knew that I needed assistance with the things that were going on in my life.
Mm. When you were in that relationship,
Mhm.
um, did you disclose to your partner that you were dealing with PTSD or the things that you were feeling?
We the thing about it, we both did. When I started to be the one, uh if two people are not going to walk the path together, you're going to always bump heads. Because even after I left the relationship, we still had contact, but my growth in therapy was different. So she knew, and she knew that she was the cause of some of it, not all of it. And as I always say, I wasn't an angel in the relationship. I refused. I wouldn't put my hands on her.
Mhm. Oh wow. Oh wow. So tell me, what was it when you were in that abusive relationship? Did your friends know? And how, if they
Um,
did, how did you keep that? How did you keep that from people?
so family members knew, but even when a woman is in that situation and people say, "Well, why you didn't leave?" It's not that simple. It's never that simple because it's like a tug of war with, I know I shouldn't be going through this, but oh, I have these feelings at the same time. So it's literally a real life tug of war.
Mm.
Um, Family members didn't like it. They resented her for some of the things that I went through. They said that I should leave, but it was times where I mean, women say it too. It's not going to happen again. Let's work on it. We talk it out, work it out, and it's just the same thing. Because until you heal, you're gonna repeat it regardless of who you with.
So what was the defining moment? What was that moment that made you say, you know what, I'm done. I'm done. I'm not doing this again.
A incident happened, and when I say I felt disrespected to the max, never been that disrespected in my life. I actually went in the bathroom. I closed the door and I beat the door up. And I knew that I had to leave after that.
So are you comfortable with sharing with us the details of the incident? Is
I never I laid hands on the door. Oh, you talking about what?
yeah.
Once again, like I said, I laid hands on the door. I have talked about this all the time. She got upset because of I can't even remember what it was about. And when people get manic, it's not really too much that you can do until they come down off of it. And even some of her children were telling her to calm down, and but it was the verbal abuse, throwing things, hitting, all of that. And I was at my breaking point, so I went in the bathroom, closed the door, and I took it out on the door, and then I left.
And how many years were you guys together?
3.
3 years.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I've never been in a physical abusive relationship or situationship, people call them these days. But I
Mm-hmm.
have experienced mental and emotional abuse.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, I didn't even realize it was mental and emotional abuse until someone pointed it out to me, and so that comes so it's almost so subtle the way it came about. For me was just like, wait a minute, when they told me that, and I sat back and I thought about, wow, they're correct. So in your situation, how did it come about? Was it sudden, or was it just gradually over time? Did it start with the emotional and mental abuse and then graduate to the physical? Like, how did that happen?
To be honest, it was over time, and like I said, I don't have no problem with like keeping it all the way 100. It was at times where I just didn't feel the love and the need that I wanted in the relationship, and I may have been seeking it somewhere else. And it wasn't always about physically. It was just that safe space with someone else that was giving it to me. So if she was to find out, then of course the reaction, it started out with arguments, and then it just escalated. Sometimes it would escalate to the hitting, throwing stuff right away. Sometimes it wasn't even. But like I say, if no matter, it doesn't matter, man or woman, if you feel as though that you gotta put your hands on somebody, it's your time. That's when y'all need to part ways.
Right. So let me ask you. So, before it got to the physical, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you my question is, and I know others, and I'm asking this question because I know others may have the same question. You said that before it escalated to the physical abuse, and there were times when you just felt like it was not a safe space.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever at any point realize that that was a red flag enough to leave rather
Yeah,
than
I
go?
had. Yeah. Yes. Yes. It was times that I did leave, but I went back because we were also. She had children. I had children. So both sets of children had grown to be family. So it was like, okay, we gotta keep our family together. It was excuses. I can say that now. It was excuses using them to say that we need to stay together because it's a big difference between love and lust. And some of that was it was lust, and that's where those emotions come from. Because even when you love someone, if you guys going to go your separate ways, it's not going to end bad. If you really care and love, usually it's the lust that brings those type of situations and old trauma.
Mm, mm, yeah. I hear, I've heard people a lot say that they stayed together or they're staying together for the child, not realizing that the child seeing an unhealthy relationship, you're doing much more damage being together. You're doing much more damage to that child
Mm-hmm.
being together than you are being separated. And
Absolutely.
so I always tell people, stop lying to yourself. You're not staying there for that child because you're damaging that child. You're
Mm-hmm.
not staying. Stop lying and saying we're sticking in there. No, you stick it in there because you don't know, for whatever reason, how to leave. May
Mm-hmm.
not feel like you're strong enough to leave. You're just using the excuse of we're staying together as a child because you cannot find a way to get out. And I know this, and I say this because I was in that situation. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I, my ex-husband, he was a great guy, so it wasn't him or anything, but I just knew that wasn't where I wanted to be. And so and then the story, it's a long story anyway, but we're friends now, and we should have
Mm-hmm.
just stayed friends. But I wasn't healthy for that relationship, wasn't healthy for the kids, because on the outside the kids knew something wasn't right. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I mean? They
They
knew.
always know.
Yeah, and it's not healthy because what you're doing is showing the children how to stay in dysfunction.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
Mm-hmm.
what we're doing. We're teaching children, when we're staying in unhealthy, toxic relationships or situationships, we're teaching our children that it's okay to stay in toxic, dysfunctional situations. And I seen this meme, and it reminded me of this meme. It says, it's a funny meme, but it says a lot of people who are in therapy because the other people who should be in there are not in therapy because they got to deal with others. And it's the same thing with our children. Like, our children may grow up with various dysfunctional behaviors because of what they're witnessing from their parents, because the
Absolutely.
parents are making excuses of, oh, we're standing here for the kids. No, you're not. Because if you were caring about that child, you would not allow that child to stay in a dysfunctional, toxic situation. Now, when it comes to mental health in men,
Mm-hmm.
uh, so how did you pull, or how do you pull men to go ahead and get the help? I have a friend of mine who her son is he's about my son's age. My son is 24, and I think her son is maybe like a year or two younger than mine, and she struggles, and even I, to a certain extent, struggle with trying to get my son, and she trying to get her son to go and get that help that they need. And I know it's a lot of it is because of the stigma. Talk a little bit about what is the type of stigma that is faced, but I want to hear from a Black man's perspective, the stigma that Black men face when they know they need to go get the help, but don't because of the stigma. What is it that you face? What are the things that you've experienced as a Black male managing PTSD and any other mental health conditions?
To be honest, the stigma. This is my view, my opinion. The stigma doesn't exist. We created the stigma,
Mm.
or the stigma was created so we won't go get the help. Because I've sat down with white therapists. I've sat down with a psychiatrist that was from a foreign country, and a woman, and they treated me like a person. They was engaged in what I needed for my healing. The thing about it is, dealing with mental health is just like being an addict. If you don't choose to get the help, or if you're not strong enough to get the help, then you're not going to get it, and you're going to use that stigma. Because I have a son that's 26, and he's addicted to Percocets. He does
Mhm.
not want to get any help, but he said himself, he said, I don't want to go because of how people are going to view me. But in the same sentence, he don't want no one to look at him a certain way because of the addiction. You can't have it both ways. So if you refusing to get help, no matter how much me and his mom talk to him, until himself in his mind choose to say enough is enough and I want to get help, it it's not going to happen. It has to be that person, and because he has a lot of support. He has me, he has his siblings, he has his mom, he has other family members, he has his own son. But if you don't deal with childhood trauma, if you don't deal with things that you may have seen growing up, if you don't deal with this or deal with that, then it's going to affect you in adulthood. And if you don't choose yourself, it's not going to happen. I don't agree with the stigma.
Mm. Okay. Can you share with us a little bit why you may not agree with it, or like, just give us a little detail?
Just because in my experience, what I've dealt with, I haven't dealt with someone not trying to get me help.
Mm. Okay.
Um, Now I did go through when I it was a time when COVID first hit, and I needed to talk to my therapist and they weren't available, and I had to take a different avenue, but I sought out to get the help. So if and sometimes people want sometimes a man might feel more comfortable talking to a woman. Sometimes a man might feel more comfortable talking to a male, or they might have a preference, and that preference is not there. But the stigma itself is something that is created to help us not get the help. Just
Mhm.
like you say that black men don't go to the doctors. So what about the black men that have loving family members on their side that go to the doctors with them? So every black man is not going to the doctors? No, it's a more higher number of men that go that don't go. But they're gonna always give you the negative to keep you, oh, if you go get help, you're gonna look like you crazy. But
Mhm.
without getting the help, isn't that what you're looking like?
So what I'm hearing you saying is the stigma is stuff that we're telling as a people, as a black community, the things that we're telling ourselves, and that we can go out and get the help. Because when I look at other communities, they're not worrying about somebody, they go and go get that therapy and that treatment that's needed. But what I'm hearing you saying, this stigma, as it relates to mental health, is something that we're telling ourselves to keep us from going and go and get the help that we need. And
Absolute. Absolute. It's a lot of different things that either us as a people or other people created for us, and we latch on to it. But if you think about it, if you don't go get the help and you keep going through life how you going, aren't you looking crazy anyway?
so tell me, what are some things that you do to keep yourself healthy?
Right. I have to be able to write. If I'm not able to write, I have to be able to say it. And my poetry is my therapy. The people that I have around me, my poetry family, is my therapy, because when you say that you are around people without judgment, like it doesn't, even in the times that someone may have had suicidal thoughts, still not judged. We still support you. And that's another thing as well. Like what the Galaxy and some other platforms have done has basically created like a support group where people really feel like, I've had grown men and women on a Instagram live talking about their mental health, sometimes crying, but they feel comfortable enough. You're in front of the world right now. A lot of people might not be tuning in, but there are people that can come back and watch it. So it's, as long as the support is there, some, and it's not even a man thing, because it's some women that feel the same way, that they don't want to get the help, or they think that they're gonna look a certain way if they go get help. So it's on both sides of the coin, and it's not just one color either. But I've had so many different people come through that platform and basically speak their truth.
Hmm. So
So
how did the platform come about? How did you decide to create this platform? What gave you the idea?
um the day that I left and never went back, I had to spend some days in a hotel, and it was completely quiet. Now, any of us that have ever spent a couple of days in a hotel, like there's always some type of noise. Like it could be kids, it could be just, it could be any, it's just always some type of noise. I had like 2 days of no noise. It was just quiet. And I heard, do your poetry. I created a Facebook group that was named Poetry in Motion. It started out with one member, which was myself. It is now up to 1,100.
Wow.
Um, and from there, I started posting my poetry. But then when I started talking to someone about being my manager, she was like, you should take all of it down. And if you want to perform it for social media, do a video because they're going to know that it's you and that is yours. So that's what I started doing. And then we changed the name the early part of last year. Like I have a board, I have a vice president. Um, we have other positions that are a part of the organization. So it went from a Facebook group to actually in the state of Maryland, we are registered as a corporation.
Oh, Maryland, my hometown. My hometown. Yes. I'm from Baltimore, Maryland.
Okay,
We
that's where
want a house.
that's where I was just living at.
Okay. Okay. All right. All right. So continue. I'm sorry. I just had to give a shout out to my BMO folks.
Absolutely. Um, and it was like literally a calling to build this platform, speak on mental health, give a space for people, all everyone, all creatives, all colors, all sex, whatever you identify as, everyone to have a space to be able to speak their truth, to get things off their chest. Sometimes people come on there and they display their artistry. Sometimes they come on there and they just need a conversation.
Mm.
So when I got that calling, I ran with it. And then I started just talking to random people and telling them my vision and my dream. And some people latched onto it to help me build it into what it is today.
Okay. Can you tell us a little bit about your book?
So be inspired, you are purpose. I dedicated that mostly to my dad. My son is actually on the cover. He is the one that I mean, of course, you know, in me, I'm looking down on him. And the book is quotes and sayings I posted for like about a month and a half on social media. I called them thoughts by the poet has spoken. And I then took them all down and I compiled them in a book. And it's just some of them are sayings, some of them are dedications, some of them are in remembrance of my dad, my son. And I just believe that if you go open that book and you need some type of inspiration, um, you would be able to get it. My favorite one in there is um, sometimes sometimes absolute blank.
You have the book with you?
I don't, and I got to get better with that. Like our artists have a bad habit of promoting themselves when they need to, but it basically says um to take some steps and to breathe, and then it gives a countdown, and it says now you can swim, and it's basically telling you sometimes you just have to stop, give yourself a moment, and you can push through anything.
Mm. Wow. 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 So I'm so glad you have been on here. Is there anything else that we need to know? Tell us some success stories. What else is going on? So you got the book going on, you got the nonprofit. It sounds like you turned your pain of that abusive relationship into purpose. Like, tell us more. What else you got going on?
Well, my favorite quote that I made up is from my pain comes my joy. And without knowing pain, you can never understand or appreciate joy. So a lot of things that I have going on right now, we are we're gearing up for our 2nd year anniversary. We've been in business for 2 years. In November, it'll be our 2nd year anniversary. And just continue making partnerships to make the galaxy even stronger, because it's not, we actually had members, we had some members in the UK, but because of life, their steps are going in different directions. But we have a member that is from Canada, so it's not just a US based
Oh,
business.
wow.
Yeah, it's going to be worldwide. I'm speaking that into existence, and that's my, besides my children, that is my biggest accomplishment.
Oh, wow. So, is this the same organization that you do the mental health check-ins?
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, we do mental health check-ins Monday through Friday. It is 9:30 a.m., 1 p.m., and 8 p.m. all Eastern times on Instagram, and it is the Galaxy _of _poets on Instagram. It's the Galaxy of Poets on Facebook. If you look it up on Facebook, you'll see the actual Facebook group, and there's also a Facebook page. We do other open mics on the platform as well. We have Speak Your Truth on Wednesdays, which I run. We have Entering the Cosmos on Friday. We have not Speak Your Truth. We have Throwback Tuesday, which is a fun open mic where a person comes on. They have to play a oldie but goodie. If the audience says let's go, then they get to spit a piece or sing whatever their artistry is. If the audience says let it go, then they have to wait until next week and come back and try it again.
Oh, wow. So, can you give us that Facebook? I know I saw that Instagram handle, but can you tell us what the Facebook is again?
The Facebook is simply the Galaxy of Poets.
Of Poets.
Hmm.
Okay. The Galaxy of Poets. Is that all one word?
On Facebook is the Galaxy of Poets. So it's basically 3 words. The Galaxy is together.
Okay. All right. All right. Thank you. All right. So this has been an amazing interview. Is there anything else that you would love to share with us, especially for because this is June is Men's Health Month. So,
Hmm.
what is this something that you want to leave? Something that you could leave to our male members of our audience. Something that they need. You feel as though that they need to know as it relates to health and wellness.
I would say that no matter what, if we are not healthy in our minds and not taking care of our mental health, then we're not going to be good to anyone.
Mm.
And to let's really do away with that stigma. We have so many platforms that women build for women. Let's do the same thing for us, and show
Mm.
them that we do want a good mental health. A healthy mental health. Like, we want to heal from the things that we've been through, and it's so much, and not just as a black man, but colored men. Period. Those of color. Period. Have to go through so much. Um. So we just need to remove the stigma.
Mm-hmm. Can you do us a favor?
Absolutely.
Can you bless us with another poem?
So I have this mental. I'm glad that you asked that, because it definitely will um be a good closer. And this is actually the first poem that I got down by heart. When my bipolar meets my depression, I take these steps into my mental dungeons. Step. I am happy, wanting to enjoy the world. Step. Start to feel my energy slip away from me, not wanting to enjoy. Step. I start to cry from a death from 5 years ago. Step. My anger has caught the elevator from my feet to my knees. Step. I can't move. So many emotions overtaking me. Step. I push through it. Step. Suicide trickles down my mind. Step. I take a leap to reach the bottom of my mental dungeons. I had to take these steps down to take these steps back up. These steps made me stronger. These steps made me who I am today. If I made it, so can you. Take my hand and let me help you take your steps out of your mental dungeons.
Oh my goodness. I love it. I love it. I love it. Thank you. Thank you. You guys, what a wonderful treat. Yes, June is men's health month. And this today we had the poet on our episode. And we will have the remaining of this month, we will have other poets, and they're all coming from the galaxy of poets. Am I correct?
Yes.
Yes. So they're all coming in to share their lived experiences managing a mental health condition. And you know what I forgot? I forgot to tell you guys to like and subscribe to our channel. So like, subscribe, and share, because we want to fight the stigma associated with mental illness. We want to make sure that everybody get out there and get healthy and know that people are thriving just like myself and Mr. the Poet. I know I added that extra in there, right? That was just, I'm just extra like that. But anyway, so we just thank you guys. Thank you so much for joining us. Make sure you tune in to our next episode to hear more lived experiences coming from men. Coming from men. Make sure you share these episodes with the men in your life to help inspire them, motivate them, and show them that you can thrive in them, even with a mental health condition. So, anyway, guys, this has been Inside the Chrysalis with your host, Latesha Higgs. That's me. Peace. Have a great one.